Is my face properly in the shot? Okay, that's good. No, that's better. I'm looking at the camera. That means I'm a professional person. That means I'm someone I can trust. Eyesight is important. I have a cap on because my hair is a mess. And I really should cut it. That's what 90% of people who care to share their opinion tell me. But I don't want to cut it. I don't want to cut it. I don't want to. Anyway, I want to share uh, the what has happened so far in my 3-day challenge. So looking at the camera, making eye contact. That's a good thing. Okay. Maybe I'll just wipe across the lens here. See if that changes anything for the better. Sorry if you hear some fan noise. I happen to like fans on me. It's wind noise. And I just wasted an entire minute. Sorry. We're going to push through here. Um, Maybe this nervousness will show you how I feel. Or maybe it's just unprofessional and annoying. Anyway, I'm doing a 3-day challenge. This is the second day. It's the morning of the second day. I have already eaten my breakfast. I want to recall and recount the events of yesterday. Um, Yesterday was actually a very good day for the majority of the day. I began the day feeling quite good, and that feeling continued for most of the day until about maybe 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. At which time I came downstairs. So what I want to say is that it was a fruitful day. It was a day I was happy, and I felt good about my condition or this challenge that I'm doing, and that is quite rare. Usually, I find these challenges to be quite hard, and I don't have a lot of faith in myself or my abilities to change myself, to change my regular habits and behavior. And so I didn't really believe originally that I could do this easily. So it was interesting that most of the day was a breeze and easy. Um, so, but there was this feeling of when is the shoe going to drop? And it was just this little thing at the back of my mind. And basically, the shoe did kind of drop, but not in the way that I expected. I won't go into the lurid details, but at 7 o'clock, I came downstairs and I received a check in the mail from the people that managed the apartment that I rented for a period of 6.5 years in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm currently in Bridgeport, Connecticut, staying with family. And when I was in Fargo, North Dakota, I rented an apartment for 6.5 years. I did not get a very good amount. I was expecting about $300 more than I actually got. And that to me is unfortunate. And that kind of put me into an emotional tailspin. And because I believe that events as well as behavior are all, or how do I say this? Basically, well, it's interesting. Now that I think about it, I find it hard to explain my thoughts. But basically, people see cause and effect in the following way. If I jump out of the the window from the third floor of a 3-story house, I will fall down. And depending on how I exited that window, and how heavy I am, and what the ground was, in other words, whether it's pavement or soft earth or hard earth or rocks, or whether it's something else in the way, determines how a level of injury. I think in that case, injury could almost positively be expected, and a significant injury if it's the third story. But it also depends on other issues such as, maybe what you're wearing or what might break your fall, if anything. There's a lot of issues there, but basically there's a cause and effect. In my case, part of this challenge is to not eat the food that I have been very addicted to, junk food. And by the way, well, I'll mention this later perhaps, but if somebody eats Oreo cookies, let's say I eat, you know, 10 Oreo cookies a day, and I eat regularly besides that. I eat healthily besides that. But I also have like a big Starbucks Frappuccino, um, which is, high in fat and sugar. I will probably consistently gain weight, depending on my activity level. So that's another cause and effect scenario. However, my current belief system is that there is another cause and effect situation, which is, to put it basically, accidents. That accidents are also part of this cause and effect matrix in which we are a part. Now, when we talk about accidents, I'm talking about if you stub your toe. I'm talking about if you're carrying some books and you drop some books. Ostensibly, you did not plan on dropping any books. However, it happened. Therefore, you could characterize it as an accident. Well, I would say that accidents do not have. Another accident would be a car crash. Okay, that's often thought of as an accident, or a plane crash would be an accident, perhaps. But here's the thing: a lot of people will play down accidents, and they will say that they'll say things like it's just an accident. It was or it was an accident. And that usually is said after someone else tells uh, uh, tells the person who's saying it, why did you do this, or allocate blame or fault in some way. So usually someone will say, you know, how could you do that, or why did you do that, or how could you let this happen? At which point, the person who's being blamed will say, it was just an accident. Well, in my current belief system, and this comes directly from the divine truth, uh, accidents are the fault of the person who is involved in the accident. Now, not completely, because there are other factors at play, many times, most times. But for in large part, if you are an adult, if you're not a child, um, and when I say child, I'm talking about like 10 and below, and there's shades of gray between, I would say, 5 and 20. But after that point, you are basically an adult in my eyes, and any accident in which you are injured is, in some respects, the cause of that accident, and therefore you could say the fault of the accident lies in your own self. What I'm saying is that there is something that you did that caused that accident. Now, that's hard for some people to swallow. But basically, that's my long way of explaining that everything that happens, I try to take responsibility for that occurrence, and I'm talking about everything that happens to me, everything that affects me. It's something that you could say, attracted into my life. So yesterday, when I got a small balance, um, as a reimbursement from the people that I rented from, I considered it my fault in some respects, and I felt very bad. I felt very bad. I remember seeing the letter on the table and looking at it and being very excited that finally it had come. as it had been about a month and a half since I had closed my dealings and interactions with my rental company. So I finally got this letter and I opened it up. And as I was opening it up, I was very excited. And then I opened it up and I kind of had this bad feeling. And I don't know how accurate that feeling was, but I had a bad feeling that it was going to be a low amount, that it was going to be unexpectedly low. And that's partly because of knowing what my company is like and some history of the company and other people's involvement. I don't want to show you my double chin. It's not really a double chin per se, but it's just a big chin. Anyway, I've when I was in Fargo, I know I've read stories of other people having bad dealings with this company. And I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but maybe I am. Whatever. This is my channel, my videos, and you're listening to it for some reason. I expected that they wouldn't treat me very well, that they would not give a very fair amount, and so it was. And that kind of caused an emotional tailspin for me. Now, what I want to tell you about is some of the things that happened afterwards. Um, I kind of depended on my parents who were in the neighborhood and vicinity, where well, they were in the kitchen at the time, who, like, I was kind of pissed off at and irate with the company, and they were nice enough, I suppose, to listen to me. Maybe they shouldn't have even listened to me. Maybe they should have just said, "Why don't you get out of here for a bit?" Anyway, my mom's recommended that we went for a walk to let off some steam. Well, I had already walked for about 2.5 hours that day, and I didn't want to walk anymore, so I suggested we go for a drive. We went for a drive. We went 2 towns over to Milford, Connecticut from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And on the way, I'm still dealing with all this stuff that's inside of me, these emotions that it's kind of like a foaming sea, I guess, waves of anger and irateness and irritability and damn it, I knew that they were going to do this to me. They swindled me, damn it. Yeah, the sons of bitches. That kind of shit, was all in the mix. And then there was also, well, I'm kind of a good for nothing too, and I should have seen this coming, and this just always happens because life is hard and you never get a fair chance. But you should get a fair chance, but all kinds of things. And my mom was saying, well, that's just life, that's business. And she said maybe I shouldn't, do I want to get a lawyer involved? I don't want to get a lawyer involved. I don't want to threaten them, but maybe I do want to threaten them. Maybe I want to do something to these people. How else will they listen to me if I call them and try to get recompensed for? Anyway, all these things are part of my thinking. And honestly, a lot of these emotions are angry emotions. They're not kind emotions. They're violent emotions. These are the kinds of emotions that lead people to do violent acts. I feel very strongly about that fact. I've taken at least somewhat into account the fact that anger has led me to do, whenever I've felt a lot of anger, it's never really led me to good things. Anger directed at other people rarely leads to anything good. It doesn't give you a very good feeling, except for kind of a power trip. That's the only good thing about anger. But really, that can't be said to be an ultimately good thing, because it never ends in a positive effect. Maybe I'll talk more about that later, but I've taken into account to some degree the effects of my anger, and I've taken stock of the times that I have been angry in my life. And so what I'm saying is I have some realization of this. I'm not saying that I'm fixed. I'm totally not fixed. And every time that anger comes back up, that just shows me that I'm not fixed. And it's a process that I have to get through to release all of this anger, and hopefully one day I can release it all. Anyway, you may note that I'm being irritable right now. I probably am a little bit irritable, but I don't want to make this too long. Unfortunately, there's not much I could do at this point. See, this is another thing that I want to say about anger and nervousness. I have a pretty good guess that not a lot of you want to hear this shit from me. And I don't know even how much of this is beneficial, but I think this is partly what people do when they are in their anger, when they're in their darker emotions. They seek to do, they're not clear headed, they're not cogent. Is that a good word to use here? Um, they're nervous and apprehensive and trigger happy, and it's not really a good place mentally from which positive, productive work can be done. And so that is another, tick against anger. So even though I can understand totally that people would not want to listen to this, this is a lot of rambling and remembering my ranting and whatnot. I hope that it could be kind of an object lesson or some kind of lesson to maybe look at your own anger and what it causes you to do and what it causes you to feel and how, in effect, you then operate in your own life. So I'll try to be as quick as I can. I didn't get to everything I wanted to say, but basically, I was going to Milford on the highway with my mother. I was driving, and we hear a sound in the opposite lanes of the highway. And I look over and I see this terrific accident occur. A car busting into the rails. And, it just, I've been, I can tell you that if not the day before, in somewhere in the last 3 days, I had this specific thought that was, I haven't seen an accident in some time. You know, I've never seen a real accident occur in which someone died. I've only seen small accidents. And then I see this accident where I'm pretty sure someone was killed. I see it happen. I don't see the draw to it. I don't know why it happened or what the reason was, if the person was abusing some substance or he was out of his mind or if someone else on the road diverted him. I don't know what the cause was, but I saw the actual cause of death, you could say, of the physical body. I saw that event with my own eyes. And it was only an instant. It was just a second. And whether the person died slowly or quickly, I don't know, but the cause of what would be that eventual death, I saw. Now, I've been looking in the reports for what happened, and I've been searching online for what actually happened, and I haven't been able to find anything. So I can't tell you if the person actually died, but from my own witness account, I believe someone did die because it was pretty brutal. It was a very brutal accident that took place. So it is interesting how these things come together. And if you're wondering why I don't have more sympathy, maybe I should elicit some more sympathy. Well, I don't really have so much sympathy because I don't feel that I am very much to blame for that event taking place. However, I do actually feel that I could be partially to blame. Although it was in the opposite lane, it was probably, 6 lanes away from me. And you'd ask, well, how in the fuck, sorry, excuse my language, or don't excuse it, could you, Theo, be partially at fault for that? Well, I would simply say that emotions, I believe, cause accidents. And my emotions that day were not very good, and in general, not very good. Even if someone is expressing no emotion, they're still doing what is called suppression. There's the suppression of emotion, which is the use of your soul, your emotional capacity, and even in suppressing emotion, you don't get suppression of emotion does not get rid of the emotion; it just covers it up. And so, if you think, which I do, dark emotions cause unfortunate incidents, then you can't say that suppression of dark emotions would prevent those unfortunate incidents to occur, because actually um, they are still there, even though they're being suppressed. Now I've reached 20 minutes and I'm not done talking. I don't even know how much data I have. Maybe this will go out at any time. But I better be quick because I don't think I have much data. So I'll be as quick as I can. Later on, I really got to wrap it up. So I'm going to wrap it up. But that was a major event. You know, not the fact that the thing that happened to me, which was I felt I was a little gypped in how much I got from my rental company, and then witnessing this accident where someone probably died, very probably, and then later that night, whereas most of the day I had no real problem with my challenge with circumventing the addictions, with doing something very opposite to the addictions. At night, I did have some problem with regard to putting jam on a piece of bread. Now, I didn't put it explicitly in my writings about the 6 day addiction, or the sorry, I didn't write explicitly what kinds of foods I would eat. I didn't want to limit myself that much. I just wanted to say generally that I shouldn't eat junk food, and that included processed food. But you know, in the end, everything is processed to some degree, and I don't want to eat raw food. I'm not going on a raw food challenge or whatever. But how processed it was and how much sugar I used is questionable. I had some fruit. Let's see. I had a pear. I had 2 peaches. I had the peach juice, and I had some. I think I might have had some juice besides that. Even, I'm not sure. And then I put jam on my toast, and I didn't feel good about putting jam on my toast. Now that might seem like a very little thing, but that is the kind of thing when I have done diets in the past. That little blip or maybe it's not blip, but that little blemish on, or stain on the diet. In this case, it's not. It's kind of a diet, but yeah, it is a diet. But if I've done, what I'm saying is that in the diets that I've done in the past, if I make one little itsy bitsy mistake, that will magnify into a large, uh, thing, and even larger to the point that I can't, in my own mind and heart, ignore it. Then I start feeling really bad and really awful, and then I become very depressed as I try to suppress these feelings of, I guess, some kind of, maybe not rage, I don't know, self punishment, self judgment, feelings of low self esteem. I try to suppress those feelings, and then I break the diet. And that's what's happened consistently. And I've gone through many diets in my life, many plans of trying to get better through physical means, through changing my behaviors. So that's about all that I want to say. I really think that those 3 events that occurred later in the day were very meaningful. The first being having this event where I finally got a paycheck, which I'm going to use. Well, it's not a paycheck, a check for deposit, and then witnessing an accident, and then doing this one unsuccessful thing. And I guess the only other thing that I want to say is that out of all 6 of the things, masturbation, porn, not watching video, or video watching, overeating, eating junk food, and being a vegan, the hardest of all those was not actually the food. And I thought the food would be the hardest thing. Actually, the hardest thing out of all of those was watching videos, interestingly enough. I really, really wanted to watch videos. I found myself clicking YouTube. It was so ingrained as a habit to watch a video. I even watched music videos, or I put on music videos because I wanted to listen to music, because I wanted to have some interaction with my computer, I guess. Sorry, did I just look fucking crazy then? I'm sorry. Anyway, I listen to a lot of music, and it just so happens that it's really easy to listen to music on YouTube, which is, I didn't want to watch videos on YouTube, but what I did was I put on a different browser screen and I played games while listening to music. So it's kind of breaking it. It's kind of these little things that it's really hard to do a perfect job. Anyway, I've talked for 25 minutes. If anyone has actually watched this, I commend you. I salute you. I appreciate you. And I don't know if you got anything out of this. This is for posterity's sake. Maybe it's just for me. Maybe this will get no views and I'll watch it in 20 years and I'll be like, oh my God, I was a wreck. But I was going to say, if you didn't get through it, don't feel bad. But if you didn't get through it, then you didn't even hear me say that. Um, I actually want to advise you to maybe don't watch so much of my videos. If it really helps you, I'd be amazed, and maybe I'd like to hear at some point why it helped you, or how it helped you. But um, I'm just sorry if this is not helping anybody. I just feel that it's important in some way, and that's why I'm recording myself. So, lastly, thank you again, and talk to you next time.